Ready? Okay. Good morning. I'd like to call to order the November 3rd, 2021 Punta Gorda City Council meeting. For November 3rd, for November 3rd, 2021. Let the record reflect that all city council members, present and future, are in the building and accounted for, and all city staff are here as well. If you would please stand and join me for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we call you Father because we are your children. We thank you for all you do in our lives. Father, we thank you for the years of service that Nancy and John have given to the city of Punta Gorda, and we ask that you bless them. Father, be with Mark and Melissa as they start a new chapter in their lives as council members. Lord, we pray when they are challenged with a problem that they look to you for the answer. Father, you have brought us to the beginning of a new day and the beginning of a busy holiday season. Lord, please do not let us get so busy that we forget about what you do in our lives. Lord, we also ask that you bless all the members and all the families that are in this chamber today. Father, please bless all the decisions made by this chamber and be a blessing to all the people of Punta Gorda. And all God's people said, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Carlo. We have several presentations this morning, and we're going to do those prior to giving time for citizens' comments and committee board introductions. So the first thing I would like to do is have John Miller meet me at the podium down below, please.
Where'd she go?
Hi.
Hi.
Well, it's always a sad day when we have to say goodbye to our outgoing council members, and this is no exception. John and I have been friends for a number of years, and we talked numerous times when he was getting ready to run for city council, and he tried to talk himself out of it, and I tried to talk himself into it.
Guess who won?
And it's been a pleasure working with you, John, and we've accomplished some great things in the last couple of years while you've been on council, even though it's been short.
Yes.
But we have a little going-away gift for you.
Ooh.
And I'd like to present this to you. It says, in honor of John Miller, Distinguished Member of Punta Gorda City Council, November 19 to November 2021, presented by the City Council of the City of Punta Gorda, Florida, this third day of November 2021.
Thank you.
And we wish you very good things.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to say a few
Oh,
words?
it's okay.
Okay.
Not too many. That's very nice. You know, the time has been so short. It's been 2 years already, and it seems like it just started yesterday. I actually feel like I'm just sort of getting in my stride. It takes a while, like Debbie and I have talked about that. It takes a while before you feel comfortable up there, even though you know, it's not an issue. But it's been an honor to work for the city, for you all, and the wonderful city staff we have and our fellow council members. I think everyone, including the new incoming council members, are totally committed to making this the best city that we can have in Florida. One or two highlights. I think over one of the main achievements that this council had over the last year was to hire Greg Murray as our city manager. He has been a wonderful person to work with, and it was a great achievement, I think. The approval of the 21-22 budget was put our finances on solid ground, and the incoming 1-cent sales tax that'll be coming in over the next 5 years will allow us to complete a number of infrastructure projects that are very important to the city. And that includes a number of buildings. This building here will be replaced, or this part of the building, and the old part will be remodeled. And then after that, or in addition to that, we'll be redoing the safety building, the police and fire department building over the next 5 years. All these things take time. I'd like to have seen them start now. But things in government never go as quickly as you'd like them to go. We also will see continued improvement in our parks, and also the general maintenance, background maintenance that we need to do just around the city, whether it's the parking garage or in the parks or whatever. Serving on the council has been one of the most rewarding things that I've done in my career, and I certainly will miss it. But my health demands that I stop at this point. Going forward, as long as my as long as my health is good, I will stay involved in the city politics, or at least follow them. I don't know if I can make a difference. But and also I've got several other projects that I'm going to take on that's involved in the city. So I'm not the kind of person that likes to sit at home and watch TV. Again, thank you all for putting up with me, and I wish you and the city council all the best as we go forward. Thank you.
Yeah, for the moment, yes. And now I would like to ask former mayor and almost immediate past council member Nancy Prefke to join me up here. Nancy has been on the city council for 8 years. And for those who don't know, 8 years is one of the most massive commitments a human being can contribute to the city. And it does take your life. And I loved your blurb in your newsletter about how many hours you've spent doing newsletters for your weekly newsletter since you started in the last 8 years. Mm-hmm. Basically, how many 40-hour weeks?
I think it was like 40-hour weeks.
Yeah. Every week it takes me, I know what I do. I put in probably anywhere from 4 to 8 hours on any given week, depending upon the newsletter. But just the newsletter alone is what takes a huge amount of time. But, you know, it's not just being at the city council meetings. It's going to chamber events. It's going to all the local fundraising events. It's participating in all kinds of things in the community. And it's a 70 to 80-hour work week commitment every week. So anybody that thinks this is a part-time job, you need to think again. But we put together a list of some of the major accomplishments since you've been on council, and I want to just briefly run through those, because some of those things you forget year to year, because it's been a few years since we did it. Since Nancy's been on council, we created a Lashley Marina capital improvement plan. We did a website redesign, partnered with Kite Realty for the US 41 Madrid Bernstore Isle Shopping Center with origin and destination study. We've had multiple Gilchrist Park renovation projects. We did the RO plant funding and completion. That was a major project. The Fisherman's Village land sale. There have been 2 1% sales tax referendums. There was a rewrite of the Chapter 6 of the Code of Ordinances completed. We got new sanitation vehicles with the tippers and the new trash carts, not to be undermined by any other project. That had some controversy as well. Yep. It seems like everything we've done has been controversy, and you know, it just happens to be that those things have come up, and it's been very controversial. But
And my district did not want the tippers, or the trash
the
carts.
trash carts, yeah. But guess what? They're all using them.
They are.
And
no one
we
complains.
fill ours every week, no matter what. So
Nobody complains.
whether we need to or not, we fill it. We've done Ponce Park improvements, sign toppers in the historic district to unify the district, Veterans Park redesign and construction several times.
Yeah?
branding and communications initiatives, new historic district lighting, underground utilities project in BSI, another wonderfully controversial project that ended up going away. Hurricane Irma, we've had several storms, needless to say, and Hurricane Irma seawall repairs were among the highest priority of one of our major tasks as council members, helping out with getting that organized. We replaced 10 miles of seawall in less than a year and a half, which is unheard of in anybody's community. We did a new citywide master plan. There's the development of an ADA capital improvements program, development of an interstate exchange zoning classification, which you had a lot to do with because of the Jones Loop corridor in your district. We did a study for the wastewater treatment plant capacity. Pickleball. How could we forget pickleball? We can't have a council meeting without talking about pickleball. And the Pickleplex and our participation in the Pickleplex project. We've talked about Henry Street development proposals, the Akiasta Meta Spa proposal, Buckley's Pass. Let's not forget Buckley's Pass. That's high on the list.
Yep.
And the assisted living project on Socorro, among others. Those are just some of the major highlights. But Nancy, you've been an integral part of the city council, and we respect you, we love you, we're going to miss you, and I don't want to cry, but we have a lovely parting gift for you, and it's a beautiful clock.
Oh, my gosh.
And there are, it's upside down. Sorry. I was going to read the thing, and I'm like, where did the thing go? Okay, it says, in honor of Nancy Prafke, distinguished member of the Punta Gorda City Council, November 2013 to November 2021, and Punta Gorda Mayor, November 18 to November 20, presented by the City Council of the City of Punta Gorda this third day of November 2021. And we'd love to give this to you.
Thank you so much.
We're also friends outside of council, and we can talk to each other again. You know, Florida sunshine law.
Exactly.
And there's the box for it.
Okay.
Yeah, feel free to.
Say a few words. So, I've been pondering this, what would I say? And, you know, we do grow a voice here. And I felt that over the 8 years, my voice has gotten stronger. I've had somebody comment that it seemed like the last year since you've announced that you weren't going to be on city council, you've been a lot more vociferous, or whatever you want to call it, because I'm not trying to get reelected, but it's been a pleasure and an honor. It's an honor serving with not only this council but other council members in the 8 years that I've been here. It's been a wonderful experience working with this tremendous city staff, and I have volunteered with some of these people for 15 years. I know Joan and I were talking about it yesterday, right, Joan? It's like when you first came to the city, and I was volunteering with Team Punta Gorda, and Mitchell and others. So it's been a long tenure, but it comes a time when you say it's time to move on. You know, I want to thank our business community for sticking with us. We have tried to be so aware of preserving our business community, growing our business community, supporting the business community. So it's that's one of the focuses that we've been really trying to grow that area. And I guess I would have to say thank you to our residents for the support that you've shown over the years. We have not always agreed on topics, but we always have a good dialogue. And that's one of the things I think that's really wonderful about this community. Our role is nonpartisan. So we serve here to a group it doesn't matter what you are from a political perspective. It doesn't matter here in Punta Gorda, because we are all one and we work together. So I really appreciate that. All these things that Lynn mentioned, it took a lot of people to get that done. Not just me, but a lot of council members. City staff has been so dedicated and devoted. So I thank them for all of that. And I'm going to be continuing to participate in the background. Melissa's already asked me if I would be a part of her group that meets on before council meetings to hash over issues. So I'm delighted to help her. And thank Melissa for wanting to step up and join the council. And I wish all of you the best, wish the staff the best. It's been a great 8 years and longer, actually. And looking forward to all the great things that you're going to do in the future. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to ask the city clerk to please come to the podium, and she's going to announce the results of the 2021 general election, followed by the administration of the oath of office for our new council members.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome. So the results of the November 2nd, 2021 general election, as you're probably all aware, there was no need to hold an election this year. Council members elect Mr. Mark Kowarski for District 3 and Ms. Melissa Lockhart for District 5 were elected to serve without any opposition. So congratulations to our new council members. And if I could ask you to please step forward and take the oath of office. So let's have So if you would raise your right hand, I will read the oath. Do you, Mark Kowarski, and do you, Melissa Lockhart, solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution and will obey the laws of the United States and of the state of Florida? That you will, in all respects, observe the provisions of the charter and ordinances of the city of Pontigor, Florida, and will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of city council. Thank you. So if you would. And then I would like to present you with a certificate of election. Congratulations. Thank you.
And now we will do the changing of the guards.
There we go.
You'd like pictures here of the family or anything now and after, you can do that. At this point, they already did, so. No worries. You don't do it. I didn't do it, but afterwards.
Oh, yeah, we have to change the nameplates. What's going on?
I've got him played with it.
Oh, yeah? Or just the part of it?
The not John Miller part.
Just the John Miller part.
But we can't give you the whole thing.
See you soon. Get through. Okay, they need to be seated now, yes? Okay, if our new council members would please come to the dais.
Where are you gonna have them sit? Same way? Where are you gonna have them sit?
Yeah, these chairs don't go in very easily. Welcome. We look forward to working with you all.
Looks different up here.
It is, it absolutely is. And now I would like to turn the meeting over to our city attorney, Mr. Levin, so he can do the nominations for mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. And in a moment, I'm going to open the floor for nominations, but just as a reminder, under Robert's Rules of Order, nominations do not need to be seconded. So at this time, it is my honor to open the floor for nominations for the office of mayor.
I nominate Lynn Matthews.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to have the mayor elected, the current mayor elected as mayor again by acclamation. Is there a motion?
Motion to elect the mayor by acclamation.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you all very much for the confidence you've placed in me, and I will do my very best for everyone. And now I would like to open up the floor for nominations for vice mayor.
I'd like to nominate Debbie Carey.
Second.
We don't need a second, but okay. Are there any other nominations? Okay, hearing no other nominations, Debbie Carey is reappointed as vice mayor by acclamation. All right, and next on our agenda is something special. We have a proclamation for the Punta Gorda Lions Club, and I will read this. This is a proclamation for the city of Punta Gorda, Florida. Whereas the Punta Gorda Lions Club was first chartered by Lions Clubs International on November 15, 1955, with Mr. George Wright serving as president. And whereas the club's motto is "We serve," and they do so by providing humanitarian outreach and services through professional and volunteer sources. And whereas the club provides financial support to their community for needed services such as eye surgeries, exams, eyeglasses, and guide dogs, as well as, excuse me, there's a little bit of noise out there, as well as providing free annual vision checks to children. The club also maintains several eyeglass collection sites located in Punta Gorda area, and whereas the Punta Gorda Lions Club Foundation, established in 1992, provides 7 annual college scholarships to Charlotte High School seniors. And whereas the city desires to acknowledge the Punta Gorda Lions Club for their many accomplishments and to celebrate their 55th year of service to the Punta Gorda area community. Now therefore, the City Council of the City of Punta Gorda, Florida, does hereby proclaim November 15, 2021 as Punta Gorda Lions Club Day, passed and duly adopted in regular session this 3rd day of November, signed Lynn R. Matthews, Mayor. And accepting will be Roger Richmond, the current president. Congratulations. Thank you. Oops. Very welcome. If you'd like the podium for a minute, you're welcome to give some kind words.
Only kind words. Good words? Okay,
Well,
good.
why would he not?
That's right.
I mean, we're awesome people.
The Punta Gorda Lions Club would really much like to thank the council for this acknowledgement, plus the citizens of Punta Gorda. Because without your support, we couldn't do the eyesight, we could not do the hearing, we could not do the school screenings. All these things are because of our community. In our past 55 years, we've served it because of you, and we've made a decision that for at least a minimum of the next 55 years, we're going to do the same thing, and we will live with the Lions creed of "We serve." Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have a proclamation for the lighting of the village for the Festival of Lights, and Councilmember Cummings will be reading this one.
Hello, everybody. Whereas the dedicated staff, AKA elves, of Fisherman's Village have been tirelessly organizing and prepping for months, and whereas over 1 million lights and themed decorations are being meticulously placed around the village, and whereas Fisherman's Village will play host to thousands of people from near and far for the spectacular annual reveal, and whereas Santa has confirmed that he is on his way to Punta Gorda from the North Pole, and whereas General Manager Patty Allen has promised it will be an amazing evening to remember. Now therefore, the City Council of the City of Punta Gorda here proclaims Saturday, November 13th as the day for the lighting of the village for the Festival of Lights, and encourages all citizens of Punta Gorda to don their best Christmas attire and to join in the celebration beginning at 5 p.m. Passed and duly adopted in regular session the 3rd day of November, signed Mayor Lynn Matthews, and giving to Patty Allen.
You may. Can't wait for November 13th.
Good morning, Patty Allen, and I have the privilege of being the general manager of Fisherman's Village. And first, congratulations, Councilmember Melissa and Councilmember Mark. Welcome, and I look forward to working with the both of you. You know, we start planning Christmas actually the day after by hitting the Walmarts all over and buying so many lights, and we stopped counting at 1 million, quite honestly. But I'd like to bring up, if you don't mind, Jim Ruttman.
Please
And I would-
silence your devices. All right, everyone in the audience, please silence your devices. This meeting is being recorded, so we need to have all devices silenced, please. Thank you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. And so behind everyone that, Jim and his team that put up all the lights, they have been working tirelessly, and they're a little tired of me pulling up every morning with loads of stuff in the car. But I really want him to take the credit for it. I always am able to stand and get all the wonderful accolades, but really, it really always goes to Jim and his incredible team that does an amazing job putting up and making the village shine. And I invite all of you, not only on November 13th, but for the whole month of November and December, to come and really see the wonderful job that Jim and his team did. So I am giving this to him to post in the maintenance shop and to share with everyone on his team. So thank you, Jim, very much.
Thank you.
I have to honestly say, about 3 years ago, I had a fit of insomnia the day after Christmas, and I got up and I said, well, I'm going to go to Walmart and see what they have left in Christmas decorations. I have no idea what made me do it. I got there and they're like, you know, there was this lady here about 2 hours ago, and she had 8 shopping carts, and she just packed them full. You took everything. You took all the good stuff. There was nothing left. But we love that you do that, and it's a wonderful event every year to have the village lit up, and we look forward to the lighting of the village on the 13th of November. So hope everybody can come out and see and participate in that. All right, the next thing on our agenda is a very special presentation with the ESPN Drug Detection Dog Competition introduction for our police dog, Miss Sadie.
Good morning, everyone. Chief Pam Davis with the Punta Gorda Police Department, and I have Master Police Officer Fernando Burga and Canine Sadie with us today. We have a pretty exciting announcement, and City Manager Murray asked if we'd come talk about it. We are part of the United States Police Canine Association, so every year, annually, we have to get recertified, our canine teams do. I'll tell you, this isn't the announcement, but this year, this awesome team got 100% on their score over there. And by the United States Police Canine Association, we were asked to apply, and pretty much canine teams all over the country, thousands of them, were asked to apply to get into a particular competition that's going to be aired on ESPN. And this team was selected there's only 10 teams selected, and he's one of 10, and Canine Sadie's one of 10, and they're going to be doing a competition on ESPN. And I'll let MPO Burger talk about it. You want me to take her?
But
I don't mind.
I'm not gonna be able to
She
talk.
never met a stranger.
No, she loves attention. So like the chief said, we're part of the United States Police Canine Association. And I believe in August, they send out an email saying they're gonna hold a competition. They did a collaboration with ESPN and anybody who's interested to send out a bio. So I was quick to jump on it. I asked the chief and Lieutenant DeVault if we were chosen, would this something you guys be interested in? They said absolutely. So I quickly put our bio together and sent it off and, prayed that, hey, we'd be selected. About, I think, last month, they sent out an email, and we were one of the 10 teams that were selected to go out actually next weekend to Raleigh, North Carolina to compete. The competition consists of vehicle searches and then room searches. So I don't have too much details because they won't release anything to us until we get there. Obviously, so I go up there Friday. There's going to be meetings, and the competition is Sunday. There's going to be filming. And then, unfortunately, I can't release any information until the episode is aired, which will be sometime in late November. But obviously, our goal going up there...
We won't know if he won.
Unfortunately not. So obviously, one of my main goals going up there is hopefully bring back a trophy for, the community and everything, and obviously our police department and our K-9 team. So just want to say a big thank you to the city manager, the chief, and obviously the community foundation who helped purchase K-9 Sadie. So.
We wish you good luck, and we're looking forward to the results.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not sure why drug detection dogs trying to get up there, but.
Just a couple weeks ago, we had a presentation at the police department for Officer Sadie. The Florida Retired Police Officers Association had a custom-made bulletproof vest made for Sadie, and it was presented to her. It was a really fun kind of thing to go to, and we appreciate that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. All right. Before we get into the regular agenda, at this time, I would like to invite anyone in the audience who has anything that they would like to speak to the city council members about. If you'd like to come to the podium, you have 3 minutes. Please state your name for the record, and you will have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Jeff Lustig. Only unpopular opinions receive tickets for indecent sign ordinance. At the last code enforcement meeting, I brought a book of Gloria Steinem's book from the public library. The Truth Will Set You Free, but first it will piss you off. And displayed it at the meeting. The book contains one of the 7 dirty words that the FCC has determined is indecent. To be fined under the ordinance, it must be shown in a public space where a 16-year-old can view it, describe an extratory function, and be an item. A book is considered an item. This book and my actions should have earned me an official warning by the Punta Gorda police who were sitting at the meeting. However, that did not happen. I was told by the officer I could only be fined if there was a complaint made against me. The board and the city attorney had no problem fining thousands of dollars for the same transgression. Why didn't they stand up and make a complaint? Or is it only unpopular signs that are prosecuted under this sign ordinance? Dear Mayor, I chose Gloria Steinem's book to protest the sign ordinance because of my grandmother and my mother told me what it was like to live as a woman from 1910 to 1973. My grandmother didn't have the right to vote until she was 30. She could not own a corporation or have a bank account. My mom told me of the socially acceptable beatings that my father gave her, to the moon, Alice, and the back alley abortions that the women of our generation had to endure. It's nice to see a pro-choice mayor use her power to stifle pro-life signs by asking the city attorney to sue pro-lifers. If it takes a complaint to be fined for the city ordinance, only people who disagree with the sign will make a complaint. This ordinance is not content neutral. I broke the ordinance in a code enforcement meeting and should have been fined. The city attorney keeps saying that this ordinance is about protecting our 16-year-olds from indecent books. All good intentions lead down the slippery road to hell. As a child of Jewish parents, once you make laws that criminalize protesting and ban books, you can start making laws about where you can work, what you can own, where you can reside, and finally, if you can live. I hope that someone at this meeting or watching the YouTube will make a complaint against me so I can receive my warning from the Punta Gorda Police Department and defend the Constitution and the freedom of expression for this unjust law. If not, there must be a lot of feminists in this group right here. It is my hope that the new council members of the City Council will bring new life to the council and repeal this ordinance. Punta Gorda is a city. It's not an HOA. We need to be tolerant of each other's views. Thank you.
No applause, please. Okay, is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address the council on any issue?
Well, hi, I'm Bob Talley. I think y'all know me.
Good morning.
I just wanted to thank John and Nancy for doing what they did for all these years, and thank the rest of you. And good luck to you, Mark. Good luck to you, Melissa. Thanks for doing such a great job. All right. and appreciate it, okay? And we'll see you in a couple weeks. It should be interesting. You're going to need a bigger building, okay?
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address council? Okay, hearing none. If there is anyone in the audience that has applied to be on a board or committee and you would like to introduce yourself to council, you can come to the podium and introduce yourself, and you have 3 minutes. Okay, seeing none, we will move ahead. We're going to adjourn as the Punta Gorda City Council and reconvene as the Punta Gorda Community Redevelopment Agency. Okay, we are in session as the CRA. First item on the agenda is citizen comments. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the CRA on any issues on the CRA agenda? Okay, seeing none. The next item is the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of October 6, 2021.
Move approval of our minutes from our last meeting of October the 6th.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the October 6 CRA meeting. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And now we have the CRA project status report. City Manager Murray.
Thank you. We'll start by going over the municipal marina activity. We'll have to have someone switch the slide. Low-tech technology is difficult. There we go. So you can see, obviously, that in October 21, we had slightly less when it came to the annual renewals in the marina, semi-annual. We're still consistent for our monthlies. We had 18 in October until the 25th. We had 17 a year ago, still consistent. Commercials remain the same. Our moorings were up. You can see that there were people either coming and going temporarily on the mooring balls, and our liveaboards remain the same also. Community room is getting more use. We've seen several community meetings that have been held there, and that's something that's positive because we do have a nice community room over there, and anyone that needs a place to meet, they can certainly rent that space for a period of time, and it's tables, chairs, very nice location to actually hold meetings. So when we look at our vessel pump outs, October of 21, we had 77. Last month there was 85, and in September, and a year ago there were 93. Generally consistent. We had 103 miles traveled on the pump out boat, and the gallons pumped was a little over 1,500. You can see that we monitor the number of miles traveled and pump out so that we can do our quarterly reports, and we actually receive money for maintenance of the vessel and able to provide those pump outs free of charge to help protect the water quality in Charlotte Harbor. So when we go to our projects, just a few updates. Our wayfinding signage, you can see that final sign proofs were under review. The fabrication is really what we're waiting for right now because steel, the sign material, has been scarce, and they were waiting for that material to come in so they could go ahead and create the signs and have them installed. We thought that that would be by the end of the year. It's going to be extended beyond that somewhat now until the material comes in for fabrication. The historic City Hall restoration, obviously you've spoken with the consultant. The consultants completed the interviews with city council members and city staff. The engineer of record is preparing the needs analysis for the overall project direction, consolidating all the comments, and hopefully it might be the first meeting in December that'll come in as a presentation and let city council hear what the comments were and see what direction needs to be taken to complete the engineering work that's needed for construction to commence for City Hall and the City Council chambers. Gilchrist Park, Harbor Walk, you said that the outgoing council member had several projects that involved Gilchrist Park, here's another one. So we're still working on a lot of the bid solicitation package so that we can get that out and have that under construction. We're also looking at our engineering and inspection services. Because of the demand right now on those type of services and engineering, engineers themselves, the cost for that service is extremely high, so we're looking at alternatives. What can we do that will benefit the city, that allows us to spend substantially less money and still have substantially more impact than if we just strictly hire someone to do that work and then they go away at the end of the day and we paid them all that money. So we're looking at alternatives there, and that'll be back for discussion in the future. AC Freeman House, we have the final building report completed. The presentation to City Council should be November 17th for staff direction. There's several questions that we need to answer that, of course, each of those impacts the amount of money we'll need to spend, things such as some of the fixtures in the Freeman House as we upgrade everything. Do you allow remaining fixtures that may still be functional but have been in use for quite some time to remain, or do you replace everything so that we're sure 6 months from now we don't have another leak that might destroy some of the new work that we've just done? So those kind of issues will come in. City Council can make the decisions, then we can move forward. Some of the amenities, for example, accessible restrooms. We have nothing except on the second floor. So how do we facilitate an accessible restroom that may benefit, you know, more than just AC Freeman? It could actually benefit the community at times. So we'll be discussing those things for you to make a decision. The Lashley Park splash pad, we're actually looking at final construction documents. Now we have the scope of work completed, procurement's working for the equipment that we need to actually facilitate construction of the splash pad. If we can get some of the equipment on various contracts and procure it directly, it'll save us some money. We're going to bring that back in for council to look at with the final numbers, and hopefully be able to fund that and go to construction in early '22. So all these projects are moving. We have a lot that's going on, and council will be hearing about a lot of these projects in the very near future. The gardens on Virginia Avenue, they're back in operation Tuesday and Wednesday mornings. They have some new crops planted there. I believe they were out of operation for a while because of COVID issues. And the crop of the month for this month was banana trees. So it's nice to be able to see them actually working on something like that and the smiles it puts on everyone's faces. So back in operation. And for that portion, that would end the report.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Murray? Okay, thank you. All right, and we have one additional item on this week's agenda for the CRA. That is the approval of the contract change order number 1 to the auditing services agreement to Ashley Brown and Smith of Pontigor, Florida.
And if I could just preface this before it's discussed, we have two things going on in this contract. One of them is the CRA amount. Last year, when the auditors did the CRA, they kind of did it as part of their contract because they hadn't specified a cost for this, although it's required by law that we do it, and they went ahead and provided it. They actually then took the number of hours that they worked to do this to come up with this year's cost. So they actually had an actual, and they proposed the cost. They actually did it at the old contract rate, so they didn't use the 4% increase for this price. Then the second phase of that we'll do when you're back sitting as council, which is renewal of the contract for audit services for the city. So we had to do this portion in CRA because it takes CRA funds that need approved, and we'll have an agenda item for the remainder of the contract when we move into council agenda.
Good morning.
Good morning. Ann Hyden, Procurement, for the record. To reiterate part of what City Manager Murray has stated for the record, per Florida statutes, they have required community redevelopment agencies with certain criteria to now perform an audit on a yearly basis per the fiscal year. So again, our current auditors, we do have a auditing contract with Ashley Brown and Smith, and their contract was originated in 2016. The first fiscal year that the services were to be performed were 9/30/2020. Again, as the city manager will reiterate for that what he has said, that they did take on the task, perform the audit. It was based on the hourly rates per the contract, and the hourly rates did not increase from 2016. So they're asking to, based on that amount, they're asking to add the services to the contract, and it will be a cost of $7,855 per year. And again, it is based on the hourly rates as of 2016. They have not increased since then. So we're looking for the direction and the approval for this to be added to the audit services contract.
Now, we did not have the source of funds on here, which we need to put on all our things that we were talking about. The source of funds for this is an audit for last fiscal, and there were some unexpended funds in the CRA account, and the finance director said there's unexpended funds, so it doesn't impact an increase in the budget. We're able to be used to fund the $7,800 that's here.
Any other questions for staff? Okay.
Madam Mayor, I approve of contract change order number 1 for auditing services to Ashley Brown and Smith.
I would second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the contract change order number 1 for auditing services to Ashley Brown Smith. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, commissioner comments. Mr. Dryberg.
I'm sad to see that the wayfinding can't find the material. Seems like we've been talking about this for 10 years. I'll be so glad when it's behind us. Also, I really want to thank our public service department, the police and fire. The service they did on Halloween night was absolutely amazing in this city. To see all those people, those kids down there having fun like that, it was truly something great for our city of Punta Gorda. Outstanding job.
Thank you. Mr. Kuharski, do you have any comments?
Comments?
Okay, Mrs. Carey?
I am almost as dismayed about the splash pad as you are the wayfinding signs. I mean, I know, that's what everybody says, we can't get it, the shipping is delayed, but oh my gosh, guys. The end.
Yeah.
The end.
Ms. Lassa? Mr. Cummings? Mr. Council?
Just my congratulations to the 2 new council members.
Yes.
Wish you all success.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, with there being no further business, we are adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen. And we will reconvene now as city council. Would you please put your mics down so when you talk, we can hear you? Yours is up as well. Thank you. Okay. And we are back as city council. The next item on the agenda is a resolution.
Yes, this is a resolution with no public hearing required that I'll read by title only. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Punta Gorda, Florida, amending the budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2021, by providing for supplemental appropriations in the amounts identified in Exhibit A, providing for severability if any of the parts hereof are declared invalid, providing for reading by title only, and providing an effective date.
Good morning.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Kristen Simeone, Finance Director. So this amendment is for 2 things. One is the plaques that are required as part of the Fisherman's Village Sale Settlement Agreement, and then a repair for some other plaques. So that's why you'll see in the exhibit the 2 different funds. So we're requesting $13,305 from the general fund reserves to complete that repair. And from the special use fund, $26,175. That would come from the Fisherman Village proceeds that are currently in reserves.
Okay, so the question is, which fund would we take the money from? Is that one of the concerns?
That is if it's one of your concerns. I mean, we separated out for the repair, not to touch the Fisherman's Village sale money unless you request that we maybe use some of those funds for the repair as well.
I was gonna ask, why we didn't just use all of the funds out of that.
The council, in past direction, has asked us not to use the fisherman's sale funds, generally speaking. If this is one of the ones that they would like us to use as part of the project, we could definitely do that.
We do have funds available from unspent budget from last year, correct?
Yes, in the general fund, yep.
Okay.
I mean, to me, it seems to make sense that if we have the money there, that's from the sale, that we not, and it's gonna be used specifically for Fisherman's Village, that we wouldn't just use those funds for that.
Urban Design can talk to about where the locations are. So one was the Trabue Park, the Gilcrest, and then the repair was at a different park. Was the Trabue Park location, but not part of the settlement agreement.
So it could be split. Any other questions?
Well, isn't part of the reason for this discussion that we've kind of been trying to hoard those special funds for something bigger and better? And if we start whittling it away, I kind of hesitate to do that. And I guess that's just because I've been involved in conversations where we've really tried to protect the special funds. I think if we have money left over from the general fund, I would rather see it all come out of that, just because that then keeps our special fund intact.
Mayor, if I
Go
might.
ahead.
So the settlement agreement did not require that the funds be used to purchase the monuments. It did require that the monuments be placed. So there's two separate issues there, depending upon how you wish to proceed.
I had initially a concern about starting to tap our general fund reserves already. I mean, we're trying to build those back up, but the explanation that I heard was that there are unspent funds from last year and additional revenues that would actually offset that. So I would be comfortable going in that direction.
The general fund reserve is a fund we are building up by 0.5 point each year. And then last year, for the first time, we also had unspent general fund money that we also added into the budget, into the reserve account. So, and same thing this year. So we have the money in the general fund reserve account that we could use. And I agree with Debbie. We've talked about this a number of times, that I don't want to whittle away at that fund either. I think there's going to be a time when we absolutely have to use that money for something that's a major project, and it could be the City Hall renovation project. We don't know yet. So I would rather not spend that money whenever we can not spend it, just keep that money in reserve and in a separate account and make sure that it's there if we have an emergency situation. That's my personal opinion. Jaha, do you have an opinion?
I'm thinking now, this is the best use of this, but upcoming, do want to have a discussion about drainage program, because I was in Tallahassee last week, and I spoke about looking at ways that we could deal with the areas where we have drainage issues in the historic district, and because these are privately owned homes, the state can't intervene in the way that we had thought, and so I do think that upcoming to look at some funding in the future for dealing with that. So that's one of those type of projects, I'd say. And so I think in this particular situation, I think we should proceed with this resolution as we have.
With the,
This resolution right now.
and using which
Yes.
funds? The general fund reserve?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we need a motion.
I move that we proceed with the plaque purchases and fund it through the general fund.
The entire amount?
The entire amount.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution and to use funds from the general fund reserve account. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
To clarify, by the entire amount, you meant the full 39,000?
Yes. Okay. Is there anyone that would like to pull anything on the consent agenda? That would include the invoices for legal services and the approval of the minutes. Okay, then we need a motion, please.
Motion to approve consent agenda?
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, next is the Peace River Wildlife Center lease agreement. Don't everybody stand at once.
All right, I'll kick it off, I guess. There are two items that needed to be addressed with respect to the existing lease. One had to do with the correction of the boundaries of the area that was being leased to the Peace River Wildlife Center, and the other had to do with some time extensions that were necessary. So there are two separate lease agreements amendments, but they all go to the original ground lease that was approved by the city council.
Do you need separate motions for each of them?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So part of the original agreement specifies that there would be a sealed survey of the premises, the legal descriptions, et cetera, for phase 1 and 2 development, and that's part of what we need an amendment to do. And it also specifies who was responsible for what items as far as construction of those items. It did not specify who really maintained those items once constructed, if they were joint use. So that's also in the one amendment that specifies the extension of time that the council would approved, and then it also discusses the operational requirements for some of the facilities.
So there's really two separate amendments. One is actually called First Amendment, and the other is just amendment. These probably could have all been handled as one, but they came across at different times, so they were developed separately. So the first item you could identify as clarification of leasehold areas, amendment to clarify leasehold areas, and a motion to approve the amendment.
This says amendment to ground lease, is that the one you're?
Correct.
Okay. Do we have a motion for this?
Before we move, can I ask a question?
Sure.
What's this going to cost us? I'm reading that surface water management is going to be our responsibility going forward. What kind of costs are we looking at?
I would not be able to answer that question.
Good morning, Clay Rebull, Banks Engineering, on behalf of Peace River Wildlife Center. As the mayor said, or manager said, we are really just trying to clean up some of the past, as we're moving forward, trying to get everything right, the lease amendment areas, and then also the stormwater management system. So there's two parts to the Peace River Wildlife Center. We're going to be having the center behind the existing dog park parking lot. And then additionally, we're going to be redoing the parking lot for the dog park. And part of that is going to require stormwater management system, which with discussions with staff, it's going to be a combined system between the parking lot and the Peace River, or the Wildlife Center. So it'll all be combined in one system, and that one system needs to be under the management of the city. So it'll be used by the Wildlife Center and the city. And that's kind of what this amendment is approaching, or speaking of.
But do you know how much that's going to cost the city on an annual basis?
Well, if it's maintained on a normal basis, there really is no cost other than mowing, and there's no, if it's maintained correctly, there's really no cost other than mowing the grass. It's going to be dry retention.
But I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
The issue is that it is a joint use for Peace River, as well as the dog park and the parking lot that we have now. So we have stormwater management that's going to be required for that anyway. We're expanding the dog park, we're expanding the parking lot, and then in addition, there's the Peace River amount that would come in. So we're not talking about major structures. We're talking about, a small amount of stormwater management. So that being the case, and because we're the property owner and because we already have stormwater we have to maintain there, this is just part and parcel with what we're going to need as we move forward with our projects also.
Okay.
So that's what the issue is.
I just remember how much it was going to cost for stormwater management when we were looking at putting in a sidewalk someplace. And I
Yes.
wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
we weren't going to be looking at $1 million+ here.
This is
Okay.
not specifically the construction of the facility. This
Okay.
is just as we move forward, operating the facilities that we have to have and do have anyway.
Okay, that's fine, thank you.
That's the issue.
I would like to also bring up another point. On this cover sheet, it says funds, TBD. There's no amount, there's no fund that it's supposed to be paid from. We need to have that on every agenda item in the future. We need to know what fund is going to provide the money that's got to pay for a project every single time. And we're missing that on a few of these agenda items this time. So I would like to make sure that gets fixed.
A couple things, and this is just semantics, but I noticed on the Exhibit B, Phase 1, it has Sarasota County listed instead of Charlotte County, so that may just want to be changed. Unless that's identifying that Banks Engineering is Sarasota County, but it was brought to my attention. You'll see in the bottom, it says sketch to company description, lease area, Phase 1, Sarasota County, so.
Okay. I'll take a look at
The other
that.
question I had, though, is I want to clarify. So as far as the stormwater, where on the property is it going to be identified to be managed?
It's going to be on Henry, closest to Henry Street, in between the parking lot and Henry Street. That's where the
So
majority.
is that
and
going to
the-
be managed on, so if I'm understanding correctly, then the city and Peace River Wildlife are both going to be responsible for the management?
No, the management has to be, the district requires the management to be under one entity, and that will be the city. All of the stormwater will be on the parking lot parcel and won't be within the lease area of Peace River Wildlife Center. And we will be discharging stormwater from Peace River Wildlife Center to the parking lot retention area, and it'll all function as one system.
So will the parking lot, in a sense, then have to be smaller because of that management? Or it seems to me that, so where your property is going to be, from what I'm hearing, is that basically then that's going to be managed in the parking lot, not necessarily on the property where you're actually going to build. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Is this something that when the city leases to an entity, that is normal for the city to be responsible for the stormwater management? For instance, Visual Arts Center, I'm not sure how usually it works.
Well, we own that land.
Right. But is that something that's common for the city still to be responsible for the management?
I think it's a little unique because we have the dog park parking, which is going to function for the dog park and the wildlife center. So I would say if it was just one lease area, just going to the Peace River Wildlife Center, that's a different story. But we have multiple uses on the dog park parking lot, which serves Peace River as well. So I think that's where it's a little bit unique.
And one of the questions was, is the parking lot going to be smaller?
Potentially, yes. If we move stormwater to the Peace River Wildlife Center property lease area, then yes, you could potentially make it slightly larger.
No, that's not okay.
Well, we need to remember, though, that we had already planned on doing the parking lot for the dog park before we knew that the Peace River Wildlife Center was coming to Henry. So I think that is probably incumbent upon us to just go forward with that and not start picking it apart, because we had this, there was a need for a larger dog park.
That was my understanding. I'm sorry Callie had to be out of town this week. She's the director of the Wildlife Center, but it was my understanding that city staff, and I don't know, Mitchell, if you want to talk to that, the agreement was that the stormwater would be on the city parcel and not the lease area.
And some of that was because they're constructing the stormwater that we need.
Right.
For the other parts, but Mitchell could go over a little bit of the detail.
Yeah, for the record, Mitchell Austin, Urban Design. So the exhibit that you see on the screen is, and I apologize, it's a little hard to read. The engineer did this, not the planner. The phase one area, there's like a hexagon pattern on the screen. That's the Peace River Wildlife Center leasehold area, phase one. The area outside of that hexagon area with the dog park and the existing parking lot there, that is still the city-owned and operated portion of the parcel. That is where the dog park, parking facilities and the shared use stormwater facility will be located. In order for the Peace River Wildlife Center site to be done, their stormwater has to discharge somewhere. The engineer can speak more broadly to that, but the most logical place for it to go eventually is within the Henry Street right-of-way, so that stormwater area needs to be, management area needs to be between the uses and the right-of-way, and we know that the parking lot is also going to need stormwater management, so it really just makes sense for it to be on the portion of the parcel that the city retained, so outside of the leasehold area. So that's the logic behind it. It's actually technical considerations that make this the most logical place to keep it.
And what does the parking lot look like at the end of the day? Are there less spaces, more spaces?
So in
It's being
terms of the
redone.
parking lot size, with the anticipated area of the stormwater management, an expansion of the dog park, the parking lot area should more or less double in size from its current configuration. I
Number
think
of
there's about
spaces.
30 spaces out there, and it goes to 60 or 70. It's a substantial increase.
And the spaces are reconfigured, and then the stormwater, what does that stormwater facility look like? The swale, I mean, part of it's a swale that's along the road like you're used to seeing. And
Yeah.
It'll be a dry retention system, so it'll just be grass, and then during the summer, it could hold some water for a period of time. But then,
depression.
yeah, it's just a depressional area,
It's just a
yes.
depression, it's not, and the swale that we see along the roads all the time that we have to have for stormwater management.
As long as we're guaranteed that the parking lot is going to increase from what it is now. We don't have enough parking right now.
That was my biggest concern when it wasn't identified that that's what was gonna happen.
And that's a good question, because we don't want something to be smaller. that's-
Correct.
Yeah, I would say it's approximately doubles in size, at least.
That's at least what we need, and it's going to be even worse when Peace River Wildlife moves in there, so, okay. Any other questions for your staff? David?
I'd like to say that Councilmember Lockhart's observation is 100% correct with respect to the Scrivener's error that's on the plan. But our concern was primarily with the legal description itself, which was prepared by the surveyor. And the legal description is correct in that it accurately places the property in Charlotte County. So it is an error which has no substantive
Yeah, I
effect.
figured it could be changed. And like I said, it was brought to my attention, so I can't take credit for it, so.
Well, yes, you can.
But the other part of this is that in order to move forward as the property owner, we have to be able to sign applications for stormwater management, et cetera, that goes to Swift Mud. And in order to do that, we had to finalize the details of the lease, which included the description, included the extension of time, and any responsibilities that had not been defined in the original lease, where if you look at 5C, it basically says who's going to build the improvements in the facilities and utilities, but it doesn't say who maintains it. So all of that needed to be identified so that council could see it, discuss it, and if approved, then we can sign the applications for stormwater management, and they can move forward with the project.
So clarify again for me, who's responsible for the maintenance outside the leasehold areas?
Of the stormwater management?
The second part of this, where it says the surface water management facilities to be located outside
That's the city.
the city.
That's the swale along Henry Street and the depression, that's the dry retention pond that will serve the parking lot that we have as well as the dog park, and also joint use for Peace River Wildlife Center. And we maintain it along our street, it's in the street right away, the swale part.
Okay. I'll move that we accept the First Amendment to the ground lease with Peace River Wildlife Center.
Second.
That was the second?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second for, to approve the, you said the First Amendment to the ground lease?
Yes.
Because there's two documents here.
Yeah.
The one titled First Amendment to Ground Lease is the one we're talking about.
Correct.
Okay? Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And now we have the document called Amendment to Ground Lease.
Move to approve amendment to the ground lease.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the amendment to ground lease document. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Thank you. Okay, next we have continued discussion of city priorities and requests for the legislative agenda.
So there's several facets to this discussion. The first being the list that we had presented that was discussed and consensus was to move those items forward for formal approval at this meeting, along with the detail that encompassed. They were, excuse me, the Veterans Crisis Assistance Team, public safety training enhancements, the infrastructure for development-ready sites, and then, of course, under water quality, the septic to sewer project and Riverside Drive force main. So the information that you see in the agenda incorporates those. It provides additional detail that was provided by staff in various reports that the city has paid for. And I would say that the general premise of this, that these initiatives were discussed in order to present the delegation a list of issues facing the city for which assistance is needed. The water quality initiatives specifically are not in the city, but the city is involved as the agency able to facilitate the project if assistance is provided. The remaining items are for information and discussion. Should funding become available to facilitate those goals, it's recognized that it's an aggressive list, but the opportunity to present the issues so that they remain on the minds of those that can potentially help with the solution should not be overlooked. So we have these on here knowing that they may not all be able to be funded this year, but at least we can present a cohesive list that says these are the issues and the plans that we need to address as we move forward, including the water quality initiatives. And that way the delegation, the legislature that has the opportunity to find or provide some money for these can be involved and at least know that we're looking at these initiatives. So as you look at the list, of course, with public safety, if you have any questions about the Vcat or the training structure, of course, we have our department heads here. The Vcat, Veterans Crisis Assistance Team, is something that's gained exposure and support throughout not only the community, but even through the delegation. Certainly something that's unique, and credit goes to the police department for instituting something that can help address those specific issues. This addresses not only the information here, not only some of the capital requirements when you talk about needs of veterans, but also some of the mental health requirements when it talks about a mental health clinician. Likewise with fire, we have several training opportunities currently with live fire drills, et cetera, with Charlotte County's facility, which is much larger. But one of the things that we don't have is the latitude to train as much as needed, other than the bare minimum required to maintain certifications in a location where we don't have to take units out of service to go when the slot is open, because that's heavily used. So something like this would provide a facility at our training facility, the old Station 2 at the shopping center, that would allow our staff, even while on duty, to have not a live fire drill, but to have a facility that they can do smoke training, SCBA training. If you've ever had one of the masks on and it leaks, especially while you don't have a beard when you wear one, you know that training is very important. You don't want to be in a smoke-filled building and not have been trained routinely on those. It's not just being trained, it's being retrained and continuing to train on those things, so second nature. So by having that facility locally, we would have something that then allowed us to continue to provide the training necessary for not only our existing fire department, but also the new employees that may be coming on if we indeed are able to get the grant and such. So it would be something that, as an amenity, in addition to our training center, would be not only for fire, but for police, would provide another structure that they could do some tactical drills and practice specific setups and do something right now. You know, every once in a while, you'll see a large police presence at Bow Harbor if there's a vacant piece of the shopping center, and everyone wonders, you know, what happened, why are all the police there? That's because they need somewhere to train, and you know, if there's a vacant structure there, they can use that, but this would also help provide that. So if they're able to provide something there, we also have
I assume there's a cost to the city if we have to go use outside training facilities?
For certain trainings, yes. For using Charlotte County's live fire training, we do not pay them, but the cost to us is essentially overtime many times and taking units out of service, so we can provide that and go to Charlotte County's training facility, et cetera. So there's soft cost there that it's not a direct payment to them. Of course, other training, yes, we do pay for other training, but not to use their facility, but to take units out of service, to provide overtime. All of those different costs are certainly something the city could mitigate if we had a facility, especially when we're just talking about fog and smoke and those type of trainings, not a live fire, meaning burn type fire, not ammo type fire, but live fire type training at the Charlotte County facility. So we've put in our existing training facility, the building, you know, is assessed at about $351,000 now, and we put another almost $20,000 in it between labor and materials to have the training structures that we have. That includes bathrooms, storage, classroom space, et cetera, but for the physical training space, we definitely need something in addition to make that training facility more functional. So that's why that's on there. When we get to the construction cost for the septic to sewer, of course, that was asked to be put on there in the event that there may be some of the federal money that could be passed through to use for septic to sewer project. Of course, when you federalize a project, you know what that does to cost and requirements for managing the grants. But if indeed we had some money, we've already spent $337,630 on reports and a preliminary design report for Charlotte County septic to sewer. So we've spent, you know, a share, over $300,000 out of utility funds to get these reports done and see exactly where we need to go. And if you see in the attachment and what you were shown, you know, the next step on the list that the engineer identified was funding. So we know where we need to go with it, and now we know how much it costs. So the next step is, how do you provide funding for that? When we talked to the county last year, the general assessment was a little bit over $11,000 per home that they were assessing as part of the tax bill. Over time, they've talked about, you know, reducing some of the assessments. There's been federal money. Of course, we don't get near the federal money that the county received. We were supposed to get over $8 million. We were then classified as in a different category, and it went down to $2.4 million because we're a metropolitan city in that category. So we don't have near the money that would allow us to fund this project. That $2.4 million in the near future will be coming to the new council to discuss how that money would be used, some of the ARPA money, which can go for different things when we talk about drainage and, you know, projects that we need that we don't have money to fund. That'll also come before you. But with this, if we stuck with an assessment of about $11,000 and we had $1 million for the design and 50% of, you know, construction to a certain point, which when it used to be the phase 1, 2, and 3 in the initial concept, that would have got us about 400 homes in that phase. If we had 50% of that and $11,000 assessment, it would get us started on the project if there was interest in doing that, and if that money came in as funding. That's the only funding that's identified right now for that project. The force main on Riverside Drive, of course, that's been discussed many times. That's funded out of another project currently. Our 75% that would allow, as time goes, for the potentially 4 different housing developments right now that have private systems to connect into that force main, came out with that contingency money to over $900,000. So we would be able to, if we got that money, which is again outside the city, but facilitates the goal of statewide water quality improvement. If we got that $900,000 back, that we didn't want to hold up the project, but if we were able to have that funded, we could put that back in the other water line project. And of course, it's a regional benefit, not a specific city benefit, although anything that is surrounding the city that improves water quality is ancillarily a benefit to the city also. So that was in there. And then infrastructure, specifically as noted in the infrastructure section, we had economic or job development. There's potential for different things, including environmental initiatives, infrastructure that could be high-speed internet for various types of businesses that may be looking at a vacant site that doesn't have that infrastructure available. All of those infill type things that we can identify and then provide funding for as an incentive to develop commercial growth and look at the demographic of our tax base, commercial versus residential, and help improve that. That's what that money was intended to facilitate. So that's what's on the list currently. If you'd like to see anything taken off, added, changed.
Do we need to prioritize this list, or are we just sending the whole list?
We usually just send a list to the legislative delegation, and there's different subcommittees that are within the state government, in both the House side and the Senate side, and whoever the local delegation representatives are usually take it and propose budget items or bills that are going to be brought before the different committees. And a bill must go through several committees before it actually goes to a whole House or a whole House Senate vote, and then it becomes a bill. It's a huge, long process, and I'll have to see if I can find the, was a really kind of a cool video that is online that shows the whole legislative process of how a bill becomes law, and it's very eye-opening because you don't even realize the length of the process that goes on in that 2-month legislative session. But we usually just give them a list, and we can prioritize it, but this is kind of divided out by categories. So to that extent, I think the way it's been laid out on paper, I think is probably fine, the way it should go to the legislative delegation. And that meeting is next Thursday at the Military Heritage Museum at 9 o'clock. So I would encourage all the council members to be there and show united force that we are all there and support what we're presenting to the legislative delegation. I do have a question with regard to the Riverside Force Main. Are all those customers out there our current water customers?
Are all of them?
Well, because you're talking about not only Riverside and 17, but you're talking about going in Riverside Drive to all the mobile home parks and potentially the botanical gardens as well. And if those people are not our water customers, then it should be the county's responsibility to provide sewer for them unless they decide they're all going to annex in. And we do have a document that was drawn up when I first got on city council 5 years ago that says if you voluntarily decide to annex into the city, you must sign a letter of intent that you will annex into the city when you become contiguous. We've never enforced that, and I think we need to do that. I think that, that there's something to be said about that, and it will certainly help our annexation efforts. So that's something that I think we need to talk about as well, but that's a conversation for another day.
Two things. One, I cannot categorically say all our water customers. I would have to check and find out. Done a Chuck's listing, maybe he can find out and let us know that. Secondly, we do have annexation. When someone connects to the water system, we have stipulated agreements for annexation if they become contiguous, like you're talking about. So, at some point, people that become contiguous annex into the city. So the water customers, I don't know. We certainly have water lines that go out Riverside. I just don't know if all of those that were discussed in 18.
He's on the phone. He just went outside because he must be asking that question.
Yeah. And there's two things here. One was the original presentation in 2018. that actually failed, and that one had, you can see the ones that were there, including the one that was Lazy Lagoon. But then the new agreement does not include all of those. It includes just the ones shown here. It doesn't include Lazy Lagoon that you can see to the top right, that doesn't extend the whole way up there, but does have the potential to serve that property. They're all on water.
They're all our city water. Okay, that's good to know, because I would not want to spend any more money on that part of the project unless we know that they are currently our water customers. But, you know, a perfect example of what I was just calling out is Waterford. Waterford is contiguous now because we have the continuation of their project that goes all the way to Carmelita Street. So that now is contiguous. And we've never said anything to them, but I do understand from speaking to people who live there that they're trying to consolidate they used to have 3 HOAs within Waterford, and they're now at 2, and they're trying to consolidate it to 1, at which point they are going to request annexation. So that's a good thing for us, because, you know, that furthers out our city parameters, and we can then fill in some of the open missing teeth that are within that square area.
Yep.
But that's one of the big problems we have, is we don't have contiguous borders that are squared off. I mean, we have a lot of little enclaves and little missing teeth that are properties that never got annexed, and down the road, we may want to.
Pioneer's Pizza.
Sorry?
At Pioneer's Pizza.
Yeah,
Little
well, there's
piece
a
of it.
lot. I mean, you know, I gave city manager a list when he first came on board. I sat down with Howard one day, and I went through all the properties going down 41, and it was amazing to me how many properties in that whole corridor are not in the city limits. And I'd be happy to share that with anybody that wants a copy of it. But it's just, I think that's something that will help our annexation efforts going forward, is if we start doing that kind of stuff that will help us ultimately fill in our complete squared-off borders. I think that makes a big difference. But getting back to this agenda, sorry, I got off track there. I just, you know, I think the list as presented is probably fine, and certainly we will have police chief and fire chief, I think, are going to plan to be at the legislative delegation as well, and the city manager, so that if there are any questions by those 3 gentlemen, that we will be able to answer those questions for them.
Well, and some of this is categorized the way it is because they have different pots of money. For example, environmental, that might be a pot of money that public safety, you know, does not come out of, if indeed
And Senator
is
Albritton
available
is the
that
chair
way.
of the Water Quality Subcommittee, so that's a very good thing for us, because he was instrumental in, as was Representative Grant, in getting us the $1 million this year for the Boca Grande project. So I think, you know, that said, we hang around at the end of the meeting and talk to the legislators that are still there, and they mingle around and talk to everybody. So we will have an opportunity to speak with them and, you know, at least further our efforts. Jaha, you had your hand up.
I just wanted to say, I spoke to representatives of the Botanical Gardens, and they are very interested in if we can do this to proceed with us in that regard.
Great. Melissa?
This is kind of on a side note, but in this conversation, I will continue to beat the drum, as they say, for the Madrid 41 diplomatic parkway solution that has been discussed many, many times. And I know last meeting you had said, you know, obviously not adding it here, but in regards to having conversations with delegation, I just want to make sure that I just have brought it up again, that we're continuing to beat the drum for the Madrid 41 issue that is happening in my district.
Yeah, and that's a very valid point. City manager and I have talked about it, and our lobbyist had asked about it. I think at this point in time, we need to keep that separated from the legislative agenda, simply because that's a totally separate issue. If we have to go over FDOT's head. I can tell you, in fact, I have an email I just got this morning from the project manager for the 41 South Corridor, and there was a meeting yesterday, and he's sending me the meeting minutes, which I haven't seen yet. So there are talking about possibilities for different things that can be changed, and I think one of the intents was to possibly consider a dedicated right turn lane at Akiasta going south onto 41. So that is that'll be a major player in that whole equation, but yes, it is definitely on my radar, and, we'll get to committee appointments shortly, but if I get reappointed to the MPO board, I've been kind of ruthless about that, and we will keep fighting for that, I promise you.
Thank you.
Mark?
So I know we're putting a lot of things on the list, and likely, we'll get some of it, but not all of it. To me, I look at this list as something that should be consistent in the future. If we don't get it now, we should have some consistency year to year, I think, in what we're asking for. And eventually, we might get some, and then we might get a little bit more. So that's the way I view the list.
You're absolutely right. And in past years, I can tell you that we only had a short list, like 1 or 2 things mostly. And we pushed for Boca Grande money for almost, I think, at least 4 years that I know of. So we finally got money this year. And so it's not for lack of trying, but we did keep pushing on it. And Greg and I really hung in there at the end of the meeting last year and talked extensively with all 3 of the legislative guys. And that's ultimately what got us the money, because we pleaded our case a lot. So I think it's important that they get to meet all of us, especially the new folks that haven't been there before. And we'll make sure that everybody gets introduced to everybody, and we at least have a name with a face. So it's very critical that we keep open lines of communication with all of those folks, and not just in our district, but anybody that represents Southwest Florida, because they can be helpful. And as an example, we have a cooperative thing with the MPO board with Sarasota County, Charlotte County, and Lee County, and we're all going for Purple Heart Highway on Interstate 75. And so we're doing a cooperative effort with all 3 of them, and that will be something that I will be talking to Senator Albritton about again, because we talked about it last year, but it was too late. By the time it got to him, it was already in session, and we didn't have the opportunity to get it as a bill. So we'll hope to keep doing that, but the ongoing working relationship with these 3 gentlemen has gotten better and better over the years, and I really look forward to having you guys meet all of them.
Plan to be there.
Yeah, good.
And I would say that we have to be, extremely grateful that we got the $1 million last year. That was a big lift, and they came through for us on that. And making sure they understand some of the challenges we're looking at as we move forward doesn't mean, obviously, automatically that we get this money. And, it's sort of late in the program for a big ask like this, but obviously council wanted to wait until we had new council seated and we could look at these initiatives. And this week, the letter will go in so that they have it for the meeting next week. And then there's a lot of work that has to be done, and our lobbyist certainly helps us facilitate that work. But this does show for people that have the opportunity to impact the outcomes of these requests that we're addressing these issues and they're on our radar, and this is what we need to move them forward. So,
If I may, the meeting is next Wednesday, correct?
Is it Wednesday? Oh, did I say Thursday?
I have it as the 10th.
When, you're right, you're right.
Okay, I just
It's
wanna make sure.
Wednesday. My apologies.
the 10th. Yep.
My apologies. Yep, it's Wednesday. I lose track of days sometimes. Okay, all that said, is everybody okay with this legislative agenda list?
Yes, I am.
I think we should do a motion to officially accept it then.
I'll make a motion to officially accept.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to accept the legislative agenda as submitted. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
And I do have one more item for legislative continuation of discussion, and that is the $1 million that we just talked about last Friday. After a lot of work that staff put in to provide to provide information back and forth to facilitate the ultimate application the state sends to us, we do have that application for the $1 million and are able to start drawing on that. So I need consensus from the council that we can go ahead and sign this grant agreement and send that back to the state so that we can get that $1 million, and that they know that we provided all the information and we're ready to move forward before we go to the meeting next Wednesday, so that they see that we're spending the money that they actually help us get for the projects.
My phone was blowing up. It was Senator Albritton's aide telling me that the meeting is Wednesday, where everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Mayor, what Greg is asking for is a motion and a vote to authorize him to sign the grant agreement on behalf of the city.
The attorneys reviewed the agreement. Of course, it's a state of Florida agreement, so I don't think there's much we could do with it, but staff has also reviewed it to make sure the information in there is correct that was submitted and approved. So it's just a matter of signature and return.
Okay, we need a motion.
Make a motion to provide our city manager with the ability to sign the grant on behalf of the city.
Second.
We have
That's all
a
second.
motion and 2 seconds to have the city manager sign the agreement for last year's funds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Pontigor CRA appointment.
Morning again. Karen
morning.
Smith, City Clerk, for the record. So Commissioner Council's term as one of the 2 Charlotte County representatives on the CRA will expire November the 16th of this year, so just a couple of weeks. The Charlotte County Board of County Commissioners was notified a couple of months ago, and they did announce the vacancy. Mr. Council did go through their application process, and they have nominated him for that seat. And now we need council's approval of Mr. Council's reappointment.
We gotta get stuck with you for another 2 years? Mr. Council has been a very active member of the community for many, many years, and he has served in many capacities on several boards and committees and serves us well as a CRA representative.
I move that we accept the county's recommendation and appoint Charles Council to our CRA board.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to reappoint Mr. Council as the CRA representative. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, and we look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you also, I appreciate that.
All right. Next, we have the approval of the contract change order number 1 to the auditing services agreement to Ashley Brown and Smith.
Yes, and obviously this had 2 components. We discussed this in the CRA. That's where the 7,800 came in, but this actual contract award, which procurement can address, you'll be able to see that the auditing services or the contract, they're allowed to increase by the CPI, once during the period, the year, and instead of 5.8, they were able to negotiate that down to 4% for the new contract amount. So with that.
Thank you. Ann Heinen Procurement, for the record. Again, Ashley Brown and Smith, they were awarded the contract in 2016. It was for an initial 5-year period. The contract did contain a 1-year renewal for an additional 5 years. They did exercise that renewal in August, and the provisions of the contract allow for an increase each year of the renewal period. Again, it's based, the renewal and the price increase is based on the CPI index for the South region for the percentage of increase in the previous 12 months. Based on the previous 12 months, the increase is 5.8%. They did request the maximum increase, and procurement was able to negotiate the increase to 4% instead of the 5.8%. Just a note to draw your attention to the increase will only be applied to the fiscal year 2021 audit fee. That is a lump sum fixed fee. It will not affect the CRA audit fee that you've previously approved as CRA, so that will remain, and the hourly rates will remain constant as well. So the only portion of the increase would be affected with the flat fee for the 2021 audit period.
Is this a contract we have bid out before?
Yes, it is a contract that we have bid out. The approval, certain services are, for our procurement policy indicates they're exceptions. Generally, it's audit, financial, and those type of contracts. And those type of contracts are reserved for city council approval only. And so are the change orders.
Okay, and once again, there's nothing on here as to what fund will be paying these funds on the cover sheet, which needs to be on future. Okay, so we need a motion.
I move approval of contract change order number 1 to the auditing services agreement to Ashley Brown Smith of Punta Gorda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the approval of contract change order number 1. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
All
just
right.
for information, and I know Kristen can address it, but these are annually budgeted funds for audit services in the general fund.
Yes, so usually we only put the funds if we're requesting additional funds. We did not do that this time, but we can certainly put that. It is split between several funds, so it's going to be
What I'm talking about is on the cover sheet of each agenda item, it says funds, and it usually tells us what pot of money is paying for this agenda item. And if there's a dollar amount, it has that as well, and we don't have either of those.
We can start putting that for items that are already included in the budget as well.
Yeah, we need that
yes.
on every agenda item, because it's something we need to know as people making the decision.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, next we have the City Council Service Boards and Committees assignments. City Clerk.
Hello again. So, one of council's discussions during this reorganization meeting is to determine the annual service boards assignments. The service boards are those boards which either have a longstanding relationship or a longstanding request for council representation. Each of the council members indicated their preferences. They chose 3 boards each and rated them. You have that sheet. You also have a list of a brief description of each board. So this is for your discussion and assignments to these service boards.
Okay. Should we go through these one by one?
Just go through the list, start at the top and work your way through if you'd like.
Okay. All right, so Charlotte County Airport Authority, Mr. Kuharski, looks like you're it for that one. Okay. Veterans Council, Mr. Miller used to be on this one, and I know there's some changes that are coming to the Veterans Council, and I personally think we need to see if we can find somebody, maybe from the police or fire or even general staff, that is a veteran that could represent the city on this committee. I think that we really need somebody who's a veteran who can speak, you know, from the heart and be part of the committee and be an active part of the committee.
That's a great idea.
I checked with Chief Davis, and we're looking into what kind of a time commitment is going to be involved if somebody from the city.
It's just 1 hour.
1 hour once a month?
Yeah, that's all.
Okay, so then we can look at trying to find, we've got several folks on our Vcat group in the police department. We have some veterans in the fire department, and we've also got, I'm sure, some employees that are former veterans. So maybe if we can, I know, Jaha, you go to those meetings anyway for right now.
Yes.
So I think if for the time being, if we could just leave you doing that, and then we'll have we'll have somebody from the city staff if we can figure out who we want to, you know, nominate for that at some point in the future, if that's okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. Check. We don't have anybody who put their name in for check. Does anybody have any?
I have another board meeting outside of my city obligation that starts at 5 o'clock on that Wednesday, so I'm out.
Okay.
I would be happy to jump on there, that's fine, yeah. I would be able to do that.
Okay. All right.
So check.
All right. Jeanette is Mrs. Carey. You're okay
Yep.
with continuing on that one?
I am.
Okay. And then the CAA, that's the one that you are serving on, correct?
That's correct.
Sorry?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that something you want to continue doing?
Actually, due to my health issues, I would be happy to
Okay.
turn that over to Councilman Carey.
Okay. And you're okay with doing that one?
I am.
All right. Mrs. Carey, you're it. Drug-free Punta Gorda. Are you interested in staying on that one? Okay. All right. MPO, I would really like to stay on the MPO if nobody has any objections. I think that the continuity with the MPO board has been really good, and I think we've got a really good working relationship, and they're listening. They're at least paying attention, so I'd like to stay on that board. Okay. The Business and Economic Development Group, that's the once a month, 8:30 a.m. On a Friday morning. And that was your number one?
I was interested in that, correct, yeah.
Okay.
If that's okay with Mark.
Okay. All right. Is that okay with you, Mark?
Yes.
Okay. The city manager usually goes to that as well, so there's always somebody from the city there. The Housing Authority, Debbie, you are going to do that one as well?
Thank you. I was asked to stay on by the Housing Authority Director, so.
You've been very, very helpful for that committee, so that's a good thing. Southwest Florida League of Cities, that is typically an appointment that the mayor participates in, so I will keep that on my list if everybody's okay. And what we'll do is, if we have the need to send an alternate, I would let somebody know that, so we can send somebody else to those meetings. Southwest Florida Regional Planning Council. Jaha, you want to stay on that one? All right. And TDA, or TDC, I'm sorry. We have, Jaha, you've been a member of that for 5 years, and you want to stay on that.
Absolutely.
So you have, let's see, 1, 2, you already have two.
Councilmember Kowarski only has one assigned.
Sorry?
Councilmember Kowarski only has one service board at this time, just so you know.
Okay, yeah, is everybody okay with having Mark be the second person? Because we have two on that. Okay. All right, so it'll be Cummings and Kuharski. Everybody okay with all of that? All right, very good. All right.
And I'm assuming we'll get information where they meet as well.
Yes, city clerk normally sends a letter of notification to each group.
I will do that, and they will be notified that you're going to be the representatives for the coming year, and we will add the dates of the meetings to your calendars.
Thank you.
And are there any that are coming up quickly? Business and Economic Development, is that this week or was that last week? No, that would be this week, right?
This week.
All right. So that'll be this Friday. And third Thursday, fourth Monday. I'm looking to see if there's any other ones that are, looks like everything else is later in the month, so I think we should be good. Okay,
We'll be sure to get those on the calendars yet this week.
all right,
Okay.
all right. And
So I should be attending that meeting this Friday,
yes,
correct?
yes.
Ready to
right.
move on?
You're up.
Okay. I have a few boards and committees items. Under vacancies, we have one regular seat and 2 alternate seats on the Board of Zoning Appeals, 2 alternates on the Code Enforcement Board, and 1 seat on the Planning Commission. Under nominations, we have a 3-year term on the Board of Zoning Appeals and 1 eligible applicant. If you'd like to nominate and appoint, you may do so. That's Mr. Michael Coyne.
Anyone?
I'm nominating the point.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second to nominate and appoint Mr. Coyne to the BZA. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Also under nominations, we have a vacancy on the Firefighters Pension Board. Mr. Bill Albers has expressed a desire to be reappointed. If you'd like to nominate and reappoint at this time, you may do so by motion.
Motion to nominate, reappoint.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to reappoint Mr. Albers to the Firefighters Pension Board. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Next, under nominations, we have 2 vacancies on the Historic Preservation Advisory Board. We do have 3 eligible applicants for nomination
For 2 seats.
for 2 seats.
So
I just need,
So we can just nominate.
just
those.
nominate. No second required.
We need a nomination from somebody.
Motion to nominate.
Thank you. And then last, under nominations, we have a 3-year term on the PGI Canal Advisory Committee. We have 3 eligible applicants for nomination for 1 seat.
Motion to appoint, or a motion to nominate?
Just nomination.
Motion to
Thank you.
nominate.
That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Reports from city officers, city manager.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank the outgoing council members for all the work that they've put in. We know how much time and effort that takes, and it's been a pleasure working with them. And also thank the new incoming city council members for taking that step and for providing that support for the city. We certainly have a lot to do and appreciate that you're here to help do it. After that, I'd like to also thank city staff for all the work that they put in for Trick or Treat. I know there was a lot of people that came through the city's garage facility that were certainly impressed and had a really good time. There were 10,000 pieces of candy and 1,000 bags of popcorn that were going before 7:30, and they restocked. I think it was due to the efforts of the fire department that they could get through and restock us with some candy. And that then went till, I think, not quite 8:30, and it was going again. So a lot of people came through. There was a lot of work that was done, fire and police. There was certainly a lot of effort that was put in to maintain safe streets, have proper closures. I know there was one incident where the medic was able to get through and actually really save someone's life that was having an issue in the downtown on one of the streets here. And it was certainly a very professional and well orchestrated response that allowed that to happen. So we're really pleased to see that even in a major event like that, that the responses were not held up and that it was well planned out for emergency response to serve our citizens, not to mention the event itself. So a lot of people put a lot of time into it, everything from public works, fire, police, just about everyone, and not to mention the ones that actually worked on the garage and provided that entertainment for the kids that, and adults that came through. So thank you for all the work that was put in, for all the ones that were involved, and it certainly reflected well on the city.
And also thanks to the folks that had the classic cars that brought them in for us to be part of the
Absolutely.
display. It was really,
Yep.
it was fun. It was a really neat event.
That was very nice.
I've never seen that many people at the Halloween celebration downtown. I mean, there had to be 10,000 people. I mean, I'm not kidding. I'm not even kidding. I was standing in the parking garage and Kylie came up to me and she said, I hope we're going to have enough candy. This was like 5:15. They were standing in line at 4 o'clock, and we weren't supposed to officially start trick-or-treating until 6, but there was no way we could keep the doors closed until 6. So we opened them a little after 5, and there was a line from all the way from inside the parking garage, all the way around this building, all the way around the front, out Marion, and about a half a mile down the road. There was several hundred people standing in line waiting to get into the parking garage. And it was like that at a lot of the houses too, because they were all standing in line to get candy from all the houses. But it was incredible. And yeah, city staff did a great job, and police and fire and everyone, kudos to everybody. It was a very classy, high class, well done, well orchestrated event, and everybody should be proud. It was great.
They did a very nice job.
Yeah, thank you. City Attorney.
Well, I'd like to congratulate and welcome our new city council members and remind you that my email is always available for questions. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. I hope to be able to be a valuable resource for you.
Yeah, just remember, he charges you every time you call him. I'm teasing.
Yeah, not really.
I bet you're sorry you told me that.
It is much better to head off
Yeah.
issues than have to deal with them after the fact.
Agreed.
And there's a lot of nuances to being a city council member. sunshine law, public records law, and all these kinds of things. I've been a city attorney here for about 15 years and previously a city attorney for the city of Northport for 12. So hopefully I should be able to answer most of your questions. Welcome again.
Thank you.
Thought he was going to say, I'd like to remind you, don't get us in legal problems.
I think that goes without saying.
All right, City Clerk, do you have anything else?
I do, thank you. Just a reminder that at the next meeting, we'll be selecting the Charter Review Committee members. So if you haven't already submitted the names of those folks you would like to be considered, please send them to me or to Sarah. And again, congratulations to our new council members. We'll be doing a brief orientation with you, giving you keys to the building and that kind of thing. And you're both aware of the newly elected member training, and you've both chosen to go to the March training since it'll be close by. It'll be in Fort Myers, so we'll make sure we get you registered for that. And when we go through the orientation, we'll talk about travel and all kinds of good stuff. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. I have just a couple quick things. Just a reminder that next Thursday, or I keep saying Thursday, next Wednesday is the legislative delegation. I was also going to talk about Halloween, but you've already spoke with wonderful flowery remarks, and I can't add to that. The Thursday, no, excuse me, Friday, I guess it's Friday. Now I'm so confused. I have to look on my calendar, and I apologize. All right. We have a Veterans Day ceremony that's going to take place at the Military Heritage Museum on Veterans Day, and that is Thursday, next week, Thursday the 11th. And the City Council and City Manager are invited to attend that, and Police and Fire Chief as well.
What time?
It starts at 11. I will send out an email, but just wanted to let you know that ahead of time. We typically all go to that, so I want to let you know that we're invited to be there. November 13th will be the lighting of the village. If you haven't already responded to Kathy Burnham at the village, please let her know if you're planning on going and if you're bringing someone with you. And just a very sad note, I was just informed this morning that longtime committeeman and police volunteer Bill Hughes passed away this week. And he was a very big part of my campaign team. I know he served with Debbie on her campaign team, and he worked with Nancy as well at one point or another. So we're very sad to hear that he passed, and we send our warmest regards to his wife, Mary Ann. So that's all I have. Mr. Kuharski, do you have anything?
I would just like to say how excited I am to be here. I see this as an honor and a privilege. A lot of people have asked me why I did this, what my agenda is. I don't have an agenda. My wife and I have been here just under 5 years, and we love Punta Gorda. I just want to do the right thing. I've not had the honor of serving in our armed forces like many people here have in the city. I see this as my time to serve, and I just hope I could serve well. Thank you.
Thank you. Debbie?
Well, I would like to say that I am really looking forward to another year as vice mayor, and I thank you very much for your confidence in electing me to the position. I will say this, working under Lynn has made my job really easy. She doesn't miss anything.
Well, I kind of like to be thorough and do things
Yes,
the
you
right
do.
way. So, thank you. Melissa?
Just want to say that it is an honor to be sitting here, and actually I tripped over Nancy's big shoes that she left, so I will try to fill them if I can. There's big shoes to fill with her, and it's an honor, and I'm really looking forward to serving. Thank you.
Thank you. Jaha?
Honored to serve with you, and with you, I think we have a good time.
Thank you. And again, thank you to everyone for appointing me as the mayor. I truly appreciate it. It is an honor and a privilege to serve the city, and to serve as the mayor is it's a very important role that I take very seriously, and I really appreciate your confidence in me, and looking forward to working with both of you as well. And there being no further business, we